Today's class is once again dedicated in the memory of Yehuda Leib Shulman. That's Leib Lamed Beis. And from what I heard of him, that he was a Jew really with a heart, and his memory should be blessed in heaven. He should have peace and satisfaction of his children who are striving to walk in the ways of Hashem. The Shakespeare said many powerful lines, and one line that Shakespeare said was, "All the world's a stage." Now, if you learn the writings of the Rizal, you see how true this statement is. Because we look at life, and a lot of things go on here in life. We have sometimes great success, things seem to be going right, and sometimes we seem to be having the greatest failures and struggle and difficulty. Things seem to be going wrong, right? And often it just doesn't make sense what's going on, right? Is God happy with me? Is God not happy with me? Um, is my life going well? Is it not going well? It just seems very haphazard, almost like it's a play where we're not really sure where things are going. It doesn't seem to really follow logically the way life is unfolding. Right? But the truth is, right, as Shakespeare said, that really all the world's a stage. And it really is a play, and it's really being written by God. And in the words of Chazal, it's all a mushroom. It's all a parable. All of life, right? If we could rephrase Shakespeare's statement, all the world is really, it's not just a stage, but it's also a mushroom. It's a parable. And it's a parable what's going on in the heavens. And we know that life starts, the first 3 days of life are critical in the development of the embryo and fetus. We know that these are critical times. And the Arizal explains the first 3 days of what's going on there and how Kabbalistically a person is getting 18 different sparks of holiness, right, which really 19 the first 3 days, 6 on the first day, 6 on the second day, 6 on the third day, and they all come together, and that's how you get life. The first 3 days are critical for life. And everything we see that's happening down here, right, in the physical and in the embryo, whatever it might be, but that's all a mushal. It's all a parable for what's going on in the heavens. It's all a parable for what's going on in the heavens, and it's the same thing with our difficulties and our successes. Right? You can't be too focused on what's actually going on. You can't be too focused on that. We have to really look at our life and see the parable that's contained within it. Right? As our sages say, the Gemara in Brachos, beginning of Brachos, it says that if a person has difficulties, yifashvesh b'maisim, you should feel your actions, and yimashmesh b'maisim, you should have a fine feeling. And the Mesilas Yesharim explains that yifashvesh, yimashmesh is like when you go to buy a suit. You go to the store to buy a suit, and you feel the clothing, yeah, it feels pretty nice. But then yimashmesh, you feel it like even more to see is this really something good quality. It's the same thing with our actions, right? If something's going wrong, feel your life out. See if there's something there which is the mushal parable is playing itself out. And then you understand much better what's really going on. And this is the concept that the world is really a stage, and it's mushal, it's a parable. I want to share you a very interesting story I heard once about the Briskerov. It's well known that the Gedolim used to go on what's called dacha, which was a semi-vacation. They pushed themselves very, very hard. So in the summer, they would take a days or weeks and just go to a place of quiet, relaxation. They would still learn. They would have their schedules, but they were away from, the crowds, and they had a chance just to, as us Americans we say, to chill out. And so the Briskov was once on a dacha, and another Jew came up to it and said, "Rabbi, I'm watching you for 5 minutes. And my conclusion is I don't really know what's going on in life and how true this really is, right? Because if you see somebody really understands that all the world is stage. And he gets too caught up by what's happening around him, his physical circumstances, and etc. So that person is living a different reality, the way he reacts to things, and he um, the way he goes about his daily living. It's not like everybody else. And therefore, the conclusion of this non-Jew that he doesn't really know what's going on. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be a non-Jew, it could be a Jew as well. Most of us, who compare our lives to that of Brisker Rub, we would understand that we really don't know what's going on. Because there's Rav Chaim Brisker, the father of the Brisker Rub, yeah, was Rav Chaim Soloveitchik. And his father was, sorry, his son was Rav Yitzchak Zev Soloveitchik, whose son was Rav Moshe Soloveitchik, one of them. Sorry, that was his brother, who was the uncle of Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva University. You get a little bit of history there, and the brother of the of Soloveitchik from Chicago. In any event, so um, the pick our lives, to their lives and their level of understanding. So Rav said that Emunah starts where Yediyah ends. Right? Emunah, faith in God starts where understanding ends. And each and every one of us, we have a certain level of understanding of life. Like, for example, right? I think it's been around 1,400 classes on thanking Hashem when things are bad. And if you think that when something bad happens to me, I don't get upset, completely wrong. Last week I got a phone call, you know, and I was so upset about this phone call. Really. Now, look, I knew that it was good, but Hashem set it up for me that this was really a distressing phone call, right? Really. And I held myself back. I said, "Call my David Rahman of it." Got in touch with one of the people involved because I felt there was a certain misunderstanding. Right? I was pretty sure it wasn't going to get so far, but I felt it was important to clear up that misunderstanding. But after 1,400 classes, thank Hashem, when things look bad, you would think that like I just go through the day singing and dancing, but it's not true, right? Because where understanding ends, that's where Emunah starts. And every person is going to have on their level tests where they need to build their Emunah, their faith and trust in God, right? No matter where you are, it could be 14,000 classes. And thank Hashem when things look bad. I hope that Hashem will give me the longevity and the strength to give that many classes. Figure it out, probably another 30, 40 years, probably more actually. But the point is that really to understand this parable of life, you need to have a lot of understanding and a lot of emunah. Right? And so each and every one of us, in our level, we all have to try and delve into life best we can, understand the great wisdom, and we can even say the infinite wisdom that has been passed on to us by our sages, and apply that in our daily life, especially when it comes to things which look bad, just not to get upset. This is really the major foundation of life, which is critical, right? As our sages tell us, Kol ma da'avid Rachman l'tova. A person should accustom himself to say that everything that God does is good. It's going for the good and it's good. And then we'll hopefully get less upsets. Not that we won't get upset at all, because we're all human beings. We'll get less upset. It's just like Havil. If you're at a Shakespeare play, and I myself was, when I was in school, I was in a number of plays of Shakespeare, and you're just acting, right? And when we see the play, we might get emotionally attached to it, or a person sees a movie or a play or whatever, right? You might get emotionally attached, but in the back of your mind, this is not really what's going on. So you don't get overly concerned about what's going on. You realize that it's not Not really the situation. It's the same thing with life. Yeah. Since all the world's a stage, so we have to like kind of sit back and look at our lives and try to understand it. It's like people study and analyze Shakespearean plays, right? And the build up and how he wrote it and how he developed the storyline and the plot and the character development. That's the way we have to look at our lives. A little bit objectively, to the best of our ability. To look at our lives objectively and understand that all the world is stage. And not to get overly concerned with that. Our concern should be more trying to understand what the message is. Yeah. And we'll never get the message completely, because again, we're not God and we don't know exactly what He's has in mind. But our sages have given us many tools, right? And one of the most powerful ones being be mashmesh ma'asim, pashmaisim. Analyze what's happening to you. We know that God works measure for measure, meter for meter, right? And as our sages say, that if you stole some money, person steals some money with his right hand, and then a few minutes later, somebody's closing a door, and bang, the fingers of your right hand get bruised. And you think to yourself, why did that happen? You say, you know what? I took that money over there, took something. It wasn't really mine. I better give it back. This is what it means in all the laws, right? Is that God is showing us brilliantly and dramatically the playing of our life. And that if we sit back and watch this, um, production, then we will understand what's going on. To have the greatest success in everything we do, to understand clearly what's going on to the best of our abilities and maintain influence on.